Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Apolitical Podcast. And I'm your leftist host, Caleb. And today I'm joined by my co host.
I am your centrist host, James.
Yeah, and we have a great episode lined up for y'all today and cannot wait to hop right into it. We are recording this on Saturday, February 14th. 2026, and we have reaction to Attorney General Pam Bondi's crashed out in Congress, the largest measles outbreak in the U.S. since measles was declared defeated, what went on with this year's Super Bowl halftime show, Virginia becomes the newest state in the ongoing national redistricting battle, and stick around to the end for a more lighthearted, truly apolitical set of topics. Starting up today, we're going to start with Pam Bondi in Congress. We got a couple clips lined up to watch. I have 3 specifically. Each of these clips are a little long just because there was a really long day. There was so much that happened, and all of it was insane. So I kind of went through and I curated what I felt like were the most impactful, important things to go over. So we're going to be watching one full clip. We'll talk about it a bit, watch the second one, talk about it a bit, the third one. And then after the end, we'll kind of do give our good summarizing thoughts on the topic. So James, if you want to go ahead and get that first clip pulled up.
Yep, I'll go ahead and get it pulled up.
Awesome.
And then we can watch it.
Yeah. Okay, just for some context before we start, this was a congressional hearing for the Epstein files that had just got released at the beginning of last week, which we covered. And Pam Bondi was supposed to come in for an oversight hearing because there were some issues with the way they had released them. They weren't supposed to redact people's names except for the people who were victims. However, they didn't redact any of the victims' names, in addition to the fact that they did not release as many files as it was. So there was a lot of issues with it, and so this was the oversight committee saying, hey, you didn't do what we told you to do. And that was supposed to be the topic of the day. And as we will get into this, we will see that is not what happened. So you got that, James?
Yep, we can go ahead and get it started.
Okay, awesome.
How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No, you're going to answer the question the way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people, but I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time belongs to me.
Reclaiming my time.
The time belongs.
I think it's very interesting.
My time.
I think it's very interesting.
And you can
when
reclaim
he
your
talks
time.
about they indicted, the president said they indicted him twice.
Mr. Chairman, please stop the clock and stop the clock and restore his time.
Okay, here we go.
Committee will get in order. The time belongs to the gentleman from New York. We will give you a few more seconds. We will do that. But when you ask a question, the witness gets to answer. You may not like the answer, but she gets to answer.
The question was, how many of Epstein's...
They don't like the answer, Chairman,
my time.
because it's honest. So he asked a 4-minute question.
Restore 45 seconds,
and
Mr. Napper, please, Mr. Chairman.
Answer.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
No, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
I should get back at least 45 seconds.
We will give you a few more seconds. I said that already.
Yeah, this kind of sets the tone for how the whole day went. So here, obviously, there were the few points of contention. She's being asked about how many people has she been going after and indicting for the Epstein files, and instead of commenting on that at all, she just goes into a tirade. And you even hear her talking to Raskin and calling him a washed-up loser lawyer, which is insane. And he'll, like any other person that go back to previous administrations, if a Democrat had been in the hearing, Republican News would have torn them apart, ripped them limb from limb, if they responded anywhere near with this level of disregard for decorum in an oversight hearing. Anything you want to comment on, James?
Yeah, it's just classic non-answer, waste of the time. Even he said it, that she's not going to filibuster on their time. They've already seen her do this before. So they're not going to let her do it again. It sucks because, the questions still aren't being answered. And even if, she had all the time in the world, they're not getting answered because she doesn't want to answer them.
Okay. You got the second one pulled up?
No, it sucks to waste everyone's time like that, but... Yep.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Democrats, I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files
claim my time. I got your answer. You said there's no evidence.
Trump asked
Chairman, please stop the clock.
sign the legislation. This is
time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center, because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you. Here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and the officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized this operation. And as we say here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has expired.
Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I'm reclaiming my time. I'm glad you're asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim
because this
time
is
when you don't-
bigger than
when you-
Watergate.
when I don't answer a question the
This
way you
goes
want.
over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And that's
now,
where you're the
I want to know,
most
at what point did the FBI and the DOJ decide that Lex Wessner was not a co-conspirator? Because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, please, to release the internal decision about whether to prosecute him or not, and it's not in the files, and it's not in the files for any of these other men.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
May she answer?
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about on deep fake AI porn. Only 2 people voted against it, and you were one of them, hypocrite.
Was the president aware of Secretary Lutnick's ties to Epstein when he chose him to lead the Department of Commerce? Was he aware?
Chris Malin was a Border Patrol agent.
Okay, so I'm going to conclude that the president, in fact, did know about his ties because he was the next-door neighbor.
Shame on you.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
You're
This
from
is
a tiny,
pathetic. This
beautiful
is
state.
pathetic,
The
Mr.
committee will be in
Chair.
order.
I am not asking trick questions here. The
You got
American
your 5
people
minutes.
have a right to know the answers to this. These are senior officials in the Trump administration. This is not a game, Secretary.
I'm Attorney General.
My apologies. I couldn't tell.
Yeah. That was the second set of clips. There's one more clip at the end that's a bit longer that we'll get into in just a minute. But for this one specifically, there are a few things I wanted to note. One, we can make the claim here. The fact that the one congressman didn't vote against the deepfake AR porn is bad. However, the disregard for any serious answering to any of the questions being presented is just so disgusting. And for anyone who doesn't know, because I actually didn't really know too much until this specifically, maybe do research on how these oversight hearings were supposed to work. The people who, the congressmen, the people who are doing the oversight, have 5 minutes that they're dedicated to. They get to ask a question, and if at any point they feel that the person they are asking the question to is not going to properly respond or filibuster, they have the right to reclaim time, which is get time back to them to re-ask the question at any second. So they are allowed to stop the conversation at any given moment, which is something Pam Bondi is trying to fight, and also the chair, the person who's supposed to be in charge of the hearing, is also ignoring. Anyways.
Yeah, it's, I mean, where do you even start? It's just a complete mess, which is how a lot of these go. Eventually they have to go home. So if you can just stand there or sit there and talk until the doors close, you can get away without answering any questions. But it's crazy how so much of it is just playing hard defense. It's very obvious she's not thinking about her career after the Trump administration is over, because there's no way she's getting a job in government after this.
Yeah,
this is very unanimous as far as all the Congress people that are holding the hearing and asking the questions. It's on both sides. Everyone wants to know. So the fact that she is willing to act like this is concerning.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it at a minimum doesn't help dissuade the argument that Trump is trying to continue to rule in America past when he's allowed to, with all these people completely disregarding anything that would absolutely completely destroy anyone else's political career historically in America. Yeah, I mean, it's upsetting and it's scary that this is people who are being elected. And this is a person who should know it. AG Pam Bondi was AG Attorney General of Florida before she was AG of the federal government, and she should know all of these things, like what she isn't supposed to do. And her and FBI Director Kash Patel and not Mitch McConnell, I'm forgetting the speaker, Mike Johnson. It really seems like all of them are mostly just playing to bat and playing everything up for Trump, for approval from Trump, for approval from the administration, and completely disregarding everything else, which is just, it is upsetting beyond words, I think. So, okay. And you get that last one.
Yeah, I do.
Awesome.
Go ahead and get into this one.
This one is going to be longer than the other ones, but I picked this one specifically because it perfectly encapsulates the entire day. And
the most
there
transparent
were three big
in
points that I think can get drawn
Before
out
Trump,
of this
we
one
didn't know the word
specifically.
transparency, apparently. It's been 12 months since you gave Republican influencers part one of the Epstein files. You said the list was on your desk. Then a memo came out and said that there was no list. Phase two of the binders never happened. The President of the United States says the Epstein thing is a hoax. He blasts his own base for wanting the release of the files. He blamed Barack Obama. Republicans voted against the release of the files in the Rules Committee. Then they refused to even return to the Rules Committee until they could be protected from future votes on the release. Speaker Johnson sends Congress home a day early before break. They sent the Deputy Attorney General to meet with Maxwell. She says something favorable about the President. Miraculously, she gets transferred to a minimum security facility. No one can explain why. Miraculously, the leaks of the Wall Street Journal stop. We come back from break. We have the Massey discharge petition. Republicans drop a rule, a non-binding resolution trying to kill the Massey discharge petition. The White House says passing the Massey discharge petition is a hostile act. Trying to stop the necessary 218 signatures, according to Republican members that signed it, the White House brought them into the Situation Room, you know, the place where the president goes for time of war, promising things like appropriations or maybe even to primary them. People in the room say you were there. It didn't work. We get the 218 signatures. We eventually passed the Massey petition. You guys didn't release the files. You were forced by Congress. Every member of the House except one and the entire Senate. The reason the president signed it is because it was a veto-proof majority. We can't agree on anything, and yet the entire House but one member and the whole Senate forced the administration to release the files. Kash Patel under oath said to Senator Kennedy, the FBI is not in possession of any credible evidence that Epstein trafficked girls to anyone but himself. We know now that's not true. According to documents, Epstein had a worldwide sex trafficking ring. Girls from Poland, Czechoslovakia, Russia, Paris, modeling agencies sending him girls. He even had a relationship with a summer camp where he groomed girls at a picnic table. Ghislaine Maxwell says 29 Epstein associates cut secret DOJ deals. Turns out there is a list. 6 names readily available if you unredact them. Co-conspirators named, but we got them when you unredact them. Maxwell recently tells a House Oversight Committee that she wants clemency to release more names. Kash Patel under oath said Trump's name appears less than 100 times in the files. We now know that's not true. Trump's name appears more times in the Epstein files than God's name appears in the book about God. Okay, by the way, this is the Trump Bible. Move over, King James. Trump's name also appears more times in the Epstein file than Harry Potter's name appears in the 7 books about Harry Potter. Lutnick says that in 2008 he went to Epstein's home, says he had a massage table in the living room, that Epstein said he got one every day, that it was the right type of massage. He and his wife decide to leave and say they'll never be in a room with him again. Howard then says, I'm sure the Epstein stuff is all on video. He was the greatest blackmailer of all time. Well, how would Howard know that? But now the files are public, and in 2012 we find out that he and his family are on Epstein Island after Epstein pled guilty to state charges. I'm from Florida. I take my family to Disney World, not to Epstein Island. There are documents in the files that dispute the president's claim that he kicked Epstein out of his club. Allegedly, the president said that he asked Epstein to leave. Supported now, that's disputed, though, statements from the manager of the club. Now, Madam Attorney General, I have like 25 seconds left. So because I'm curious, and I'd like to see, flip to the Jared Moskowitz section of the binder. I'm interested to see what staff provided on the oppo on me. And because we're in the Olympics, I'm going to give it a grade. I just want to see how good it is. So give me your best one.
So first of all, nothing is funny about mocking the Bible and holding up a Trump Bible. That's what you did. You made a joke, and I find offensive to that. That's all I have to say.
I want it from the burn book.
Shame.
I want it from the burn book. Which is the best one? What you got?
Has expired. The gentleman from
Support journalism you trust. Support people.
Yeah, that was the last one. There were so many things. First and foremost, he has perfectly laid out like every single, the overarching reason why this hearing should be happening and what they should be focusing on. Trump's name appearing more times than in the book of Harry Potter or God's name in the Bible is should be setting off alarms. Even if Trump didn't commit the direct crime of committing pedophilia, he was heavily involved with people who were, and has those people in his core base in the administration. 1. 2, if you notice at the end there, he's talking about the burn book or whatever against him. That has actually come out that Pam Bondi had like a big journal of notebooks and notes on every single person that was at the hearing, and she had insults pre-made for every single one of them, which is obscene. It's just completely crazy. James, you want to talk about either of those? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's, I mean, just her answer at the end, all she, like, you can tell, and I'm sure a lot of people do that when they are in a situation where they're just getting dogged from every side and they know there's no getting out of it. You just sit there and you wait for them to say something that you can attack and then not actually have an argument, right? She waited until he said something that she could get points off of, and didn't address anything. Also, I don't think she had any time to speak. But even if she did, she would have left her argument there, which is insane. As a Christian, the fact the Trump Bible exists is more of a disgrace than the fact that he made fun of it.
Yep.
Like, making fun of it is fine, because the fact that it exists is not. You don't, like, it's not a translation. It is just has his name attached to it to make money, which isn't. Hopefully anyone should be able to see, whether you are a Christian or not. Especially if you are, you should be able to see how that is not a good thing at all. That is just a cash grab, is what it is. So you are perfectly within your right to make fun of it, because it deserves to be made fun of. And the fact that that's all she had to say, hoping that she could, like, get points off of that and discredit everything that he said off of the fact that he made a joke about the King James Version, is insane.
Yeah, I mean, and it reinforces where the current admin's priorities are. Their current priorities are playing stuff up for stage, are causing outrage, and, like, division. It's not about doing anything positive. It's about painting everyone who's against them as these evil people who shouldn't be listened to, and the points they're trying to make should be disregarded because, oh, they hate God, they hate the Bible, oh, they hate America, they hate white people, like all the things. That is Trump's MO in the current admin is basically, if they're not with us, they're awful, evil people who should be disregarded because they're evil and woke, or they're trying to trans your kids, or they hate God, or whatever. Yeah, it's just all. I mean, it's all the same tactic, but it comes out in all these different flavors, and it's all awful. Like, there's nothing actually coming of it. Like, it's just like. The only thing that came out of this hearing was no new information. They had the survivors back behind them the entire time. None of them got any clarification for anything. There was a scene that I cut out, that I thought about adding here as a clip, where one of the Congress ladies asked the survivors in the back to stand up and have asked AG Pam Bondi to turn around and say, "Hey, can you just apologize that you're not working as well as you promised to work for these people to get them justice?" And she completely just ignores it. She just doesn't deal with it at all, which is that should be what's happening. The DHS should be actively doing whatever they can, regardless of who gets harmed, to seek justice for these people. And it seems like the opposite is happening, where, like, when they released the files, the people's names they blacked out were people who were high in power who would be affected by this, not the victims' names. The victims' names and pictures of stuff happening to the victims are fully on display for the entire world to see. Yeah. I mean, it's all gross and bad.
Yeah, if you were trying, I mean, even if you were still trying to do whatever they're doing and play this approval game where you're gonna act like you're handling everything and you're doing it the right way, but you're, like, trying. I don't know. I'm not gonna call it a cover up. I'm not going to say anything like that. But the current administration is absolutely acting like they have it handled, whatever it is. They won't even say what it is. We still don't know what it truly is, but they're acting like it's fully handled, and they are handling it correctly. And everyone that says you're not handling it correctly is wrong.
Yep.
So even if you were trying to do that, it would make the most sense. The first thing you do is you turn around and you apologize for things not getting out. Even if you're lying through your teeth, that just feel like that's what you would do first. If they're in the room with you, you turn around, you apologize to them, you answer with non-answers. But being so aggressive like this and then refusing to apologize and things like that is just, like, I don't know what game they're trying. I don't even know what game they're trying to play anymore.
Yeah, and this is consistent. There was also another other clip, which I think the biggest clip to come out of this for the week that we didn't show, because I really thought that these were important, was the one where she gets asked a question, and the only thing we might have watched this. There was just a lot of stuff there. She talks about the Dow. Instead of engaging with anything meaningful, she's like, the Dow is up 50,000 points, and you aren't talking about, like, no shit, Sherlock. We're not talking about the Dow in a congressional hearing about the Epstein files. Like, what do you mean? Like, that's, of course, we're not going to be talking about the Dow right now. And it's just a whole thing where it's distraction after distraction. It is trying to put up walls to protect and deflect, with zero substance and also zero disregard for the victims. And it's genuinely upsetting. And this should be a bipartisan issue, because even like I think Rasnick was saying, this is something that goes back to the end of the first Bush administration. This is starts like 2008, 2009 is when so this is Bush. Well, this is the Bush administration, Obama administration, first Trump term, and Biden's term cover up. And this is only starting to come out during that Biden administration, but this has been spanning since basically the entire 2000s. So this should be a completely bipartisan issue of, if you want justice, you're seeking it, and it's just turning into a cluster, and it's horrific.
Yeah, and it is bipartisan everywhere except for the White House,
yeah. Which
it seems like
should be
the House, the Senate, everyone agrees. Yeah. Congress, all of them agree, except for your odd nay vote here and there. What is as unanimous as our government gets,
which is
and
basically not.
Still, you don't even have the courtesy of nice lies anymore. No. There's no. It's not even oh, I'll be nice, but I'm not going to tell you. No, now it's no. You're evil. You're evil, and I hate you.
Yep.
Which is just so interesting that they think that's going to work or accomplish anything. I mean, I think it's just indicative of who they know who their base is, and they are completely willing to get down to that level and just isolate from everyone else and rally their base as much as possible and forget about everything else. Forget about the future. Forget about anyone else who might have been a supporter, right? I think the 2016 Trump election, you had a lot more of the middle moving over to the right, and people that were right-leaning went all the way and voted that way in 2016, and all of those people are being left behind after the election was won in 2024. And it's nope, we're going down to our core base, that loud minority, and they're gonna love when Pam Bondi goes up there and just yells at all the politicians and all the reasonable people and people that care about what's happening aren't, but that doesn't matter because I guess we don't care about those people.
And I mean, I think nothing is more indicative of that. Not only this, but then the Gallup polling, where Gallup has come out and said, we are no longer going to be doing presidential popularity polls anymore. After Donald Trump has reached one of the lowest polls ever in the time he's reached. And he's denying that, by the way. He's denying that his polling is so low. But it just seems to be that he's...
Well, yeah, Caleb, the Dow just
went up $50,000. She almost says dollars. Just want to throw that out there.
The Dow just went up.
Yeah, that's insane.
I don't know what everyone's crying about. The Dow just went up.
I mean, what are you focusing
on? Your retirement has never looked better than it has.
Right now. Yeah.
If you have one.
If you have a retirement. And if you don't, well...
If you have one. If you make it that long. If you live long enough.
Yeah.
To get to retirement. And you're not so decrepit you can't actually enjoy spending your money.
Or if the money you're winning from the Dow has to go to, sexual assault court cases, because the DHS isn't doing their job.
And if it doesn't drop in the probably 20 to 30 years you have before you retire, because it's not like that money is yours now. No. Even if the Dow's up now, if the Dow drops before the money comes out of it, you're still cooked.
You're cooked.
It doesn't really mean anything.
Yep. Okay, well, I think that's about all I wanted to say. James, is there anything else you wanted to add before we move on to the next topic?
No, I'm hoping that within these weeks, one time we get some big Kash Patel news, because I want to go on a Kash Patel rant. He was brought up a little bit in there, and I really, really, really dislike him.
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff that was being said during that hearing was Kash Patel said this, and it was a lie. And Kash Patel said this. Kash Patel went on the RFK podcast and said this, and it was a lie. Kash Patel went on Joe Rogan and said this, and it was a lie.
Kash Patel is so funny. And it's
he
has to walk back.
A lot of the administration is just doing that, is just going on podcasts and lying, because it's not a hearing. You're not perjuring yourself by going on a podcast and lying. But it's crazy to see how willing they are to go on these public platforms, and like stuff like Joe Rogan, stuff that's bigger, you're gonna get more eyes on you if you go on Joe Rogan than you do on like Fox.
Yeah. Or even in these oversight committees.
And they're
you're
still
going
willing
to
to
get
go
more
and
eyesight
lie.
on Rogan than even being in a hearing. So
yeah, but it's like there's no consequence because you can't perjure yourself. You're not gonna get in trouble, so you can go lie all you want there on a bigger stage. It's like it's gonna come out eventually. They have to know it. The truth is gonna come out at some point because now they've been so antagonistic that it is us versus them.
Yep.
They have like cried about it being us versus them for so long. It has turned into us versus them, and it only hurts the administration. It doesn't hurt. It helps the entire rest of the government because they're finally working together for once, and it hurts the administration because nothing is stronger than that.
Yep.
The American government does not get stronger than when they can agree on something.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't get stronger than that. So now they're fighting an uphill battle for nothing because they wanted to make fun of people.
Be inflammatory. And,
I guess. I don't know. Try and cover themselves.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Well, no, it's insane. But I think the lying is actually a perfect segue into the next topic. The next topic we had was the current measles outbreak going around. I think there was like more than 700 or 800 cases recorded in North Carolina that all resulted from speculation is currently that a lot of it's coming from a pro-life march that happened in Washington, D.C. We're going to be getting into a little bit of RFK and Dr. Oz's positions on stuff. But first, we just want to look at it. If you want to pull that article up and read, I think they talk about the different places it might have come for, like the different stuff. But it's all coming from the D.C. area around the time there was a large pro-life rally. If you want to pull up that article from The Hill.
Yeah, got it right here.
Cool. Okay, and then...
Let's see. DC Health said in a notice it was notified of multiple confirmed cases of measles whose carriers visited multiple locations in the district while contagious and is informing people who were at these locations that they may have been exposed.
Yeah, that, and then I think lower down, here it is, yeah. Those locations include the March for Life, which took place on January 23rd at the National Mall, where thousands of anti-abortion advocates gathered for the event. This is an event that's been going on since the 1970s. And then there's a other section. It's not completely entirely. It doesn't. This article isn't saying that's the only place it's supposedly coming from. I think there's a section that goes on about all the other sections.
I've got the other article over here.
Oh, cool.
We've got places like Basilica of the National Shrine. Here's the National March for Life rally. Catholic University of America, University Center. Also the chapel. So it looks like it was pretty localized to this university. Also, which to me is a little worrying that this isn't the headline. The fact that it made it to the metro, the Reagan Airport, and then the rest of the metro. And then also there is the medical center, but if I had to guess, that's because that's where it's being treated.
Which makes sense.
Right, they had an outbreak there because they're treating them there. But I feel like the headline should be the fact that it made it to the airport because that makes it sound like it's going to spread from there. But
especially in the South where you have a lot more.
It's a little funny.
That's bad. Yeah,
it's a little funny.
I mean, it's funny for multiple reasons. One, it's pro-life until they're born, and then we don't care anymore. But in addition, because this isn't like I want to make it clear, this isn't a causation. You don't become pro-life and then become anti-vax. There just so happens to be, for whatever the case is, among Christian communities and pro-life communities generally, a larger anti-vax community in it. There are a couple of reasons why. I think the issue is most of your pro-life people are generally going to be Christians. And I think growing over the past decade or so, there's been a growing anti-science movement in the Christian movement. And this isn't to say that everyone who's Christian is going to be anti-vax and anti-science, but there's a general distrust of the scientific method and stuff for whatever reason. I think it's more of a cultural thing than a religious thing, obviously. But you have anti-vaxxing. These are the typical same people that might be more prone to not having pasteurized milk, and it's harmful. And not only is it directly against the pro-life idea of taking care of life and preserving it and protecting it because you're actively harming it. It's completely and entirely just completely discreditable. And the fact that this is such a big thing, that the measles is coming back after it had been declared eradicated for decades, is horrific. Because one, the measles is just the worst thing ever. Like, that's one of the there are so many modern miracles, and one of the biggest is that we as humanity were able to basically get rid of the measles in this country and other countries around the world because of how infectious and horrific it was. It has been one of the biggest plagues on humanity for hundreds, if not thousands, of years. And you can see there's the, I don't think we have the chart, but there is a chart where it's introduction of the measles vaccine, and then there's a sharp line that goes down for measles cases reported and measles deaths reported almost immediately following. And it is crazy that this is all spawning from this anti-vax movement, which just so happens to align well with, with pro-life stuff, anti-abortion movements, and general Christian movements, which I find depressing. But not entirely unrealistic, because this is the same group of people who are saying we're ignoring the science, we're not trusting these institutions because they're trying to make us woke, which is where I think a lot of this spawns from. And you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think a lot of this anti-science movement has spawned out of, well, the institutions are just woke and they're trying to push the trans our kids and like they're Satan and stuff like that. And it kind of develops into this level where people are going to start being directly harmed and killed as a result of this.
Yeah, I feel like anti-science was definitely big the more I mean, it definitely came from fear mongering, and also I don't even know when it was, but at some point a lot of the Christian right decided that evolution in schools was like the worst thing ever in the entire world. And a big anti-science comes from that. Comes from evolution, and evolution being taught in schools to their kids, which then leads to, well, science is also what's making vaccines and stuff like that, so we can't trust them. And then also on the right, you have anti, like, big pharma, like distrust for like big pharma and things like that, which are pushing, or not literally pushing, but like air quotes pushing the vaccines that they're making.
Yeah.
Which also leads to being anti-vax, because you just don't trust the people that are making these and that they're lying to you. And there's just, it's like it's just a giant circle of everyone that overlaps between the two, of like distrust for those like big pharma and then your anti-science, and they come together pretty
nicely.
well. What I think is crazy is, correct me if I am wrong, but wasn't before COVID anti-vax was the left?
Yeah, it was like the hippie movement. Like,
we don't want to. Yeah, we're not gonna get vaxxed because we don't need to.
Yes.
And like we're just gonna live naturally. And then COVID happened, and it's a complete flip, just 180-degree opposite direction. Now the left is calling everyone on the right stupid for not getting vaxxed, and the right's like, well, it's stupid to get vaxxed. It's like, didn't we just do this? Yeah. Like, not even that long ago.
What's important to note about this is
like, it was just the opposite.
It was the opposite, but it was nowhere near as big of a movement in the left. But it was definitely there. That's I'm not going to say it wasn't there. It was absolutely there in your more extreme spaces. The issue is it went from just like kind of a niche thing, but because COVID amplified it, it became a mainstream thing, specifically in the right, to an extent that was never in the left. Where with the left, it was like those people are dumb. You're just a silly head. You're a silly, goofy guy or gal, or they, them. And no matter what, you're just like, it's silly. But what makes it so much worse right now is that it is a mainstream view. RFK Jr. is the Department of Health Secretary. Every time I think about that, I'm just constantly reminded that RFK Jr. is the Department of Health Secretary, which is obscene. Completely.
It's definitely
ridiculous.
Being pushed by more, not important, but higher levels of authority now than it was. Like, before it was just people that aligned themselves with the left were saying this, and now it is the administration point to say these things are bad, which is crazy, because if you think measles is bad, wait until people start getting polio again.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
It just may as well ban alcohol again too while we're at it. We'll just relive the whole thing.
Yeah, just go through all the whole process of steps we've already figured out.
Just ban alcohol again. Yeah. Go ahead and put us in a depression. We're probably already getting there. We relive it. We'll just relive the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's insane.
If you want to go ahead and pull up, Dr. Oz did an interview with a lady after some of this stuff, talking about the measles specifically, and he comments on some stuff that I think is pretty important that we can talk about next. If you want to go ahead and... It's a pretty short, it's only like a minute. Oh, yeah.
The whole thing?
Yeah, the whole thing.
Let me...
Of transparency, I do want to, before I let you go, ask you about a record surge in measles in the United States. South Carolina, for example, is currently reporting 800 cases. It's the worst outbreak since measles was declared eradicated more than 3 decades ago. Is this a consequence of the administration undermining support or advocacy for measles and other vaccines?
I don't believe so. We've advocated for measles vaccines all along. Secretary Kennedy's been at the very front of this.
Oh, come on.
No, he is. When the first outbreak happened in Texas, he said, get your vaccines for measles, because that's an example of an ailment that you should get vaccinated against. What happened with the core schedule that was released in the beginning of last month was to say, listen, we look at what happened in Europe. In Europe, if you give people 80 different vaccine doses to take, people start...
But I'm specifically talking about measles here. I mean, you talked about RFK Jr., the group Children's Health Defense that he founded and ran up until 3 years ago, posted on X, despite the media's scare tactics, there's no reason to fear measles. Should people fear measles?
Oh, for sure. And we actually are pretty aggressive at CMS. We fund any vaccine you want to take. There will never be a barrier to Americans get access to the measles vaccine.
And as a doctor, your message to people about the measles vaccine
is... Take the vaccine, please. We have a solution for a problem. Not all illnesses are equally dangerous, and not all people are equally susceptible to those illnesses. But measles is one you should get your vaccine.
Dr. Mehmet Oz, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there's multiple things there, but I think a good starting point for this is just RFK's foundation that he made and funds and has been the head of for years, made a post saying you shouldn't, and this was in a response thread to somebody talking about we should be afraid, you should get vaccinated for measles, and this is them responding, you shouldn't be afraid of measles, which is one of the most ridiculous statements ever. And that is directly linked to RFK's own position, because he has been in charge of that. And I don't know exactly how closely tied he is now that he's in the administration, because a lot of times you kind of remove yourself a little bit from things when you get into a large, very high up federal position. But I can't imagine his position is probably skewed that far away from his foundations. James.
Yeah, I mean, something that just seems like, I don't even know. I don't want to call it brain dead, but like, how do you say that as a health organization? That's just crazy. I don't even know. That's just one of those things you look at it and you go, well, I guess we're here now.
Yeah.
I guess this is the world that we're living in.
This is I
suppose.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And it is scary because even they are now having to come out. RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz are having to be aggressive towards the people in their own base who they have actively riled up to be anti-vax in the way that they are now. Like this is something that has cascaded because of how aggressive they were anti-vax for COVID and so many other things that have. I understand why COVID might have been a bit more contentious as a subset, but taking it as far as they did into this is they are directly the cause of this. They are obviously it's not them going and like taking vaccines away from children, but they are at the head of pushing this ideology that all vaccines are bad and that you should just have a herd immunity and all these things. Like, whenever it is clearly shown by data that is not effective at dealing with measles, and that what was effective was the vaccine. And them having to walk that back is at least positive in the light that at least now we know they're not morons, which can be considered maybe a even worse thing. But at least I know they might just be being disingenuous, honestly, and just grifting. If they recognize
because I can understand if you were part of the group of people that when vaccines for COVID first started going around and you were wary of them, and you listened to people saying, don't take this, it's not studied enough, or it's not been tested enough, or hasn't been trialed enough, I can get that, because it was a scary time, and you do not want to get a vaccine that does not work and is not trialed properly, and there was so much information spreading from both sides. I could understand not just foregoing it completely and saying, I'm just going to take my chances because I have no idea what's going on.
Too much stuff out there.
That's fine. The difference is that measles is not new. Measles came, and we figured it out, and we took care of it. This would be like if in 20 years, COVID comes back, and they're saying, no, don't take the COVID vaccine we've been taking for 20 years, because we don't have to fear it, because it's gone. Right? This isn't the first time. I could understand if the first time measles started getting vaccines, if people were wary of them because they're brand new, and everyone is talking about it, and no one knows whether or not it's going to work, or it's the first round, or it's only the second round of vaccines, whatever, sure, that makes sense. But this is not the same thing. Vaccines do work. Measles would not have been basically eradicated if the vaccine didn't work. All right, it would be a lot bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Because 800 in a year is not that big of a number compared to how big the United States is. So the fact that 800 is an alarming number means that the vaccine works.
Incredibly effective.
Just simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many places to take any comments on anti-vaccine. I think I'll probably try and save, because there might be different talking points in future episodes where I can kind of go down some of those rabbit holes. But I think just generally it is concerning on many levels that this is the hill a growing amount of people are willing to die on. If you want to not trust stuff, sure. Distrust of the medical system has to be one of the silliest things. Because even people like Nick Fuentes, when they're talking about the ills of society, will recognize, like, at least has historically. I don't know if his position changed on this recently. I try not to listen to him too much. It makes me upset. But I can remember there are times where people in his, like, that corner have even talked about how medical stuff is still awesome and great, and like that's like the biggest, coolest thing that's come out of it, of what we're at now. I can understand just wanting to get on, like, this is all silly. I'm not condoning any of this, but I can see the train of thought for education system, for the welfare system, for progressivism and like ideology. I do not understand in any way, shape, or form the growing distrust of the medical system. It is alarming to me because it is one of the places where we have the most data to point towards the benefits of what is happening. Ugh.
Yeah, it's pretty undeniable. You can say, like, are we better off with a higher education? You know, you can make arguments on both sides. You can say, you know, is welfare working correctly? Does it need to change? Does it need to go away entirely? Is it actually for the better? A lot of these places you can, but like, women are living through childbirth at a significantly higher rate, and children are making it to adulthood, and adulthood lasts a lot longer. And the fact there isn't a retirement age at all, the fact that you're living long enough to be old enough not to work anymore, and for places not to want to pay you to work anymore, and then having time after that to spend money you've been saving is not, like, it is a fairly new thing.
At least for the general public. This might even be more common like in a richer, like where you have wealth. But the fact that we have so many things to help the people who would have never been able to do that previously because they just don't have the wealth to afford stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that it's, even though our healthcare system is definitely flawed and it is very broken, just the fact that, like, even if you don't have the money, and even if you, like, things like that aren't going well, you can still live longer, right? If you have complications and stuff like that, you need the money. Some things do take money. If you need an ambulance and you don't have the money, you're just in debt for a really long time, which sucks. But, like, a lot of things that would have killed you aren't anymore, you know, and you might be in debt for the rest of your life for it. And that is an issue. But you're not dead.
No. And yeah.
Which is like, so even if you hate the system, the science works.
Yeah.
But what they are doing is working. Whether or not it's being done in the right way to help the most people is arguable, but it is working. It is doing what it is
almost
supposed
always
to do.
getting better for the most part. There are sometimes issues. This isn't to say that everything is perfect always, but consistently improving. Yeah.
That's why I don't get the anti science and thinking that they're not doing anything or that things aren't changing. I feel like there's nothing a scientist loves more than to figure out something new.
Yeah, I mean, the guy that
I feel
solves
like
the
that's what
newest,
they
biggest
live for. They
issue
live for
is going to be. That's what you live for. Is to be the person to solve the next big problem. Like, it's what you want to do. You don't want to, no scientist is going over there, yes, I'm going to be an evil little man and never solve these issues for money. You're not getting paid nothing. most researchers don't get paid a lot of money. So, yeah.
No, you make the big bucks when you figure something out, and you write a paper on it, and
you write a book on it, and you get
you write your book. You go on the news, and you do the talk shows, and you work with other scientists that have more pull than you, and all of these things, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. Okay, awesome. Well, I think the last comment I want to make on this, and we can shimmy over to the next topic, is just it is alarming to me, but not should not be surprising to anyone that the same people who are becoming anti-science and closing their eyes to all the data and just ignoring it are the same people who are still largely in support of the Trump administration. The fact that you're able to blind yourself to this, and because it doesn't make you feel good or comfortable, should show you how this is going. This isn't to say everyone's dumb or stupid, but it's human psychology to get wrapped up in a movement that makes you not really see reality the way it's supposed to be anymore. But with that, we'll go ahead and shift over to the next topic. And talk about Virginia's redistricting plan. So there's been a big redistricting battle, and the current coming up midterms, starting with Texas, where Donald Trump asked the Texas Senate to get them, I believe, 6 more seats for the Trump administration. So they did a big redistricting battle. California, in response to that, said, if this goes through the Texas legislature, we will do our own redistricting, and that has just kind of spiraled into a bunch of states doing whatever they can to completely redistrict, to have capture as many seats as possible for the midterms. So this is gerrymandering. It's all bad. But Virginia here is one of probably going to be the biggest examples. Do you have that article pulled up, James?
I do.
Okay, awesome. If you want to pull it up, and I think go ahead and see what the exact shift would be for Republican to Democrat seats, at least what's projected.
Yeah, we'll pull that up. It looks like, so this is the current districts. So Texas has gone through, did redistrict. California did go through, did redistrict. Virginia right now is proposing it. So the current districts, what they look like, you have 5 strong Democratic districts, 2 not as strong, but historically blue, 1 purple, which means basically your swing district, 2 light red, 1 strong Republican. The new proposed districts, so how they want to redistrict would be, so you still get your 5 strong, then you've got 5 less strong, but still Democratic, and 1 strong Republican. So you go from, what is this, 7-3 with a 1 in the middle that could go either way, to a 10-1.
Yeah.
Which is a big difference. I feel like maybe an unforeseen problem with redistricting Texas is that Texas might be one of the few states that gets more Republican when you redistrict it, because of how the big cities are getting more and more left-leaning, right? And that's just kind of how big cities work. They're going to do that over time because you want social welfare, and you want things like that that are usually more left,
higher tax
leaning.
rates and all that kind of stuff in the bigger city.
Yeah, so it makes sense that the big cities are doing that, and so as the cities get bigger in Texas, they have more power. Like the past couple, or like the past presidential election, I even think going back to Clinton and Trump, was very, it was a lot more purple than it usually would have been, because the big cities are getting bluer and they've got more power. So you redistrict it to spread it over more of the rural places that are historically red.
Yeah.
The issue with doing that is now all of these other states that have, like Virginia, where it is very rural and it is pretty red, redistricting it breaks that up, and all of a sudden you don't have that anymore. And I feel like that's a lot of states that they just didn't foresee this coming, I guess, or they probably just didn't care. They just wanted the extra seats or the extra votes. But it's like,
Yeah.
I guess it goes to show how short-sighted they are.
No, I mean,
because they didn't think, oh, well, everyone else is going to do it and it's going to actually suck for us.
I expect that historically, anytime the Republicans have done this kind of thing, the Democratic Party as a whole generally has been very anti-gerrymandering. Like to the point where there was the bill that went that where all the Democrats said, yes, we are voting against gerrymandering, making it illegal across the states, and we are going to introduce a national oversight committee to help redistrict all the states as need be, so it is more fair. And the Republicans all voted no. I think this is what was expected was that Texas was going to do this, and there was going to be no reaction from the left. That, like, in my mind, that was the like, this is going to happen, and there's going to be no counter reaction to it. Yeah, and it's crazy. I'm against gerrymandering in every state. I think everyone should have a fair shot of getting themselves and their beliefs and ideologies represented on a local, state, and federal level. But yeah. I mean, I expect this to continue up until midterms. And I do want to make, I think we talked about this last time when we were talking about the Texas seat that flipped. I don't think the Senate flips, or if not, it'll just be close. The House will flip. There's no way the House doesn't flip. I would be shook. The amount of power going into this midterm election that the Democrats have in the House and House elections is going to be massive. And if it isn't, that is going to be the biggest possible, like, holding up the sign saying the Democrats never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity ever in their entire ever, because it would be ludicrous.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is bad because this is basically saying there's a sizable portion of people in Virginia who are right leaning, and they are getting basically no representation on the federal level now if this goes through, which I think is bad. But however, it's anyone saying, oh, Virginia is so bad and awful for doing this, that's on the right, is like, I think you're missing the whole point. None of this would be happening right now if, one, that bill had gone through that they were trying to pass a couple of years ago for the redistricting thing in federal government, but also if Trump and his administration hadn't specifically called Texas to get more seats. None of this would be occurring if it wasn't for those two things. So it doesn't mean I like it, but you have no ground to stand on to be mad at Virginia when this is not being caused by Virginia or California. This is being caused by Texas and the Trump admin and Republicans as a whole wanting to hold on to gerrymandering. So.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, and this will be the redistricting and stuff will just continue to be something that we talk about up until the midterms happen. So this is going to be an ongoing discussion. I assume we might have something new on this every week. We'll see. But yeah, and then going on to our last topic, which is still topical, it's a little bit lighthearted, a little less crazy, although arguable there. I was talking about the Super Bowl halftime show a little bit. Obviously, Bad Bunny came out, and there was this big push against him because they're like, oh, he's one, Latin American, and two, speaks Spanish in his songs. So obviously the right was like, well, he's obviously not an American. Rah, we hate him. Get him in there. He's Puerto Rican, so he's an American citizen. We've had so many people with the Super Bowl that are not American citizens, and this guy is. And then, yeah, it's just insane. And specifically, I wanted to talk about, there's many things to focus on, but I wanted to focus on specifically one of Trump's comments on it. And I think it's in the article we have from USA Today, if you want to pull that up, James. Trump's comments on the halftime show.
You want to read this?
Yeah.
All right, so you have on Truth Social, of course, which, for everyone out there, I have downloaded, and I could not recommend any less if I had the words. It is abysmal. It is one of the worst apps I've ever used, ever. It sucks. But that's where all of Trump's posts are. That's where a lot of his tweets are just screenshots because they're from the Truth Social. And he said there, the Super Bowl halftime show is absolutely terrible. One of the worst ever. It makes no sense, is an affront to the greatness of America, and doesn't represent our standards of success, creativity, or excellence. Written Sunday, February 18th.
Yeah. Yeah. Calling it an affront to America and representing all these things. Whenever I want to ignore, there's the bit of like the culture, like, oh, they're dancing and like every Super Bowl, the Super Hot halftime show is not necessarily a kid-friendly show. It isn't intended to be.
No,
so
that was our hobby.
Ignoring that.
That was our hobby a while ago.
Yeah.
Was how bad is the halftime show? Like how scandalous, we'll say,
scandalous
is the halftime show going to get?
Yeah. So we can ignore that.
That's the thing.
Put that in the box by itself. I think I want to shift this to one. This has to be one. He was talking in Spanish the whole time, and nobody could understand the words he was saying. But also, there's the part in the show where he comes out, and in my opinion, this is like the most American thing you can do. Is talk about unity and cohesion in our place globally of like as a powerhouse, and our place as a peacekeeper should be our intention in our hemisphere with North and South America. Bad Bunny comes out with one of his last songs and names every single North and South American country, for the most part, I think basically all of them, and talks about, like, it says God bless America, and talks about like this idea of unification and love for all these places to inspire working together in unity and cohesion, and the idea that specifically he said God bless America. Like I don't really see, unless you want to be Mr. Isolationist, I don't know how Trump's quote even makes sense here at all.
No, it just doesn't. It's another one of those just rile up the base, isolate yourself from everyone else. We don't care about anyone else that might have voted for us in the past or would have considered voting for us in the future. We know who we are pandering to, and they're going to continue to pander to those people. It's just tiring at this point.
And then the other thing for here was we're just briefly touch on Turning Point USA's halftime show, the All-American halftime show. I had a bunch of my besties over, and we watched the Super Bowl. We watched Bad Bunny's show, and then after we watched Bad Bunny's show, we went and watched, because the game was obvious. The Seahawks were winning. Go Seahawks. So we just stopped, and we started watching the Turning Point USA one, and it was so bland. Like, it wasn't bad. It was just so bland. And what makes it even funnier is that one, Kid Rock has his pedophile song, which is really good for him to be associating with the current admin, giving everything else. But also, the turnout, I think it was like somewhere around 4 million people watched that TP USA halftime show, and it was like over 100 million people were watching the Super Bowl one. And apparently a sizable portion of people watching the Turning Point USA one were hate watching. And so, which is really funny. And apparently, I've seen, I don't remember exactly where I read this, but it is possible that Trump himself did not even watch the TP USA halftime show, which I think is hilarious.
Probably taking a nap.
Yeah, just sitting, chilling in Mar-a-Lago.
That's what I would have. I would have rather have taken a nap instead of watched Kid Rock jump around on stage in some jorts. Talking about statutory.
Statutory, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is also, it like underperformed by almost 100%.
Yeah.
And that's with Kid Rock not coming out until after Bad Bunny's was done. Kid Rock didn't go on stage until after Bad Bunny left the stage, so they didn't even go toe to toe. It wasn't even like we're gonna play him at the same time. It was wait until Bad Bunny's over, then bring Kid Rock out, and still underperform by 100%.
Yeah, it's just a thing
just
where it's a place for people in a bubble to feel protected in their bubble. And I do think this is actually an interesting tangent for here before we shift over to our final segment. There was a big push back when like the big SJW movement, I think beginning of Trump, so like 2016 era, where there was a big movement for these private spaces where for people like on the left or whatever, like the gay, if you're in the LGBTQ plus community or whatever, to have your own personal bubble where you can be secluded from the world, which can be good, and I don't think is bad. However, that ideology has somewhat weirdly turned into this in a way where, on the flip, this little TPUSA thing is basically the bubble button reverse for people on the right, to have that space. The difference here that I want to comment on is it was never a bubble for people on the left as a whole. It was never a bubble for anyone who votes Democrat as a whole, right? Whereas this really does feel like the entire right wanting to create a full bubble for themselves. Now, I'm not saying like universities and stuff didn't become a bubble, because yeah, they became very left leaning, they were unanimous for most universities, but like that wasn't the verbiage, that wasn't the intention. It didn't start as an intention to make that happen, it just kind of happened. Whereas this feels like an intentional attempt to actively create a safe space bubble for people on the right so they do not have to engage with anything else. And I think that's bad. I think not actively always going out of your way to only sit in the same spaces and bubbles is actively a detriment to yourself, your ability to socialize, your ability to understand, your ability to empathize, and your ability to create good thought processes that lead to better social change and cohesion.
Yeah, and it's stuff that doesn't make sense. It's not even like, oh, well, it makes sense that people in universities are becoming more left-leaning because, yeah, if I was spending a bunch of money at university, I'd want it to be free too. And if I didn't have any money because I was spending it all in university, I'd probably want my Medicare to be free too. And it would sure be nice if the cops did a better job at this university that I go to that has a ton of crime, because there's a whole lot more people here now than there used to be. Right? You can see that line. That line makes sense. This line is, I voted for this guy in 2016 because he wasn't your standard politician. He sounds like he was going to do good stuff. And I didn't really like Clinton. And then I voted for him. Well, and then he lost. And then I voted for him because I didn't want Biden again because COVID sucked. And now, Puerto Ricans aren't real Americans.
Yeah.
And I'd rather listen to a pedophile. Well, never mind. I guess you vote for him a second time. You already know. We already know where you stand on that. But it's like, where's the line? The line is like, it's just dropped off the deep end. It's not logical. It's the like isolationist mindset that I just don't fully understand, because it's not logical whatsoever.
It's detrimental, it's harmful, and it's gross. But yeah, okay. Well, that was all of our mainline topics for the week. To go ahead and shift us over now to our truly apolitical section, I actually have a fun topic this week. So, last night was the opening season for baseball at my university. I go to GCU. I know, I'm literally Grand Canyon University. I'm antithetical to what my school wants. But there was an opener game last night, and it was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. So I don't go to a lot of sports stuff, but I have frequently frequented whatever baseball games. I'm from Texas, so I go to a lot of Ranger games. All of my siblings were into softball and baseball and t-ball, so we played a lot of baseball growing up. My dad almost got scouted for the MLB in college, so baseball's a pretty big thing. So I've seen a lot of baseball, and what I saw occur was the craziest thing. So before I say anything, it's James, how aware are you of baseball? Like, yeah, I'll say that. How aware are you of baseball, how it works, and how it typically plays?
I mean, decently. I used to pay more attention to it. I've been more on football and basketball now, but I know I used to play it.
Okay,
for,
yeah. So
like a YMCA team or something.
Multiple things that were crazy. First of all, Tinno. There was a Tinno game. We mercied the other team. I've never seen a mercy game in the entire history of baseball because it's not easy to have high-scoring games. And I think for college level, which is the game I watched, you have to get to the 7th inning. The team that has 10 points has to have 10 points, and the team that is losing by the bottom of the 7th inning, if they have not had a single point, it's mercies. So that means you have to go 7 innings where one team scores 10 and one team scores nothing, which is not easy to do at all. I mean, I don't. It's. I've never seen a game, ever. Mercy. Have you seen a game Mercy ever, James?
I probably. Well, I mean, I used to play. I was a little kid, so yeah, you kind of get mercied all the time because like most teams aren't good, and then you'll have the super team,
That's fair.
and they will just kill everyone else. But no, usually, like especially at the college level, what are they? They're not D1, but they're pretty high up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like D2.
We're Mountain West is our team.
So it's like
we're Mountain West.
Oh, then you might be D1. It's at that level. It is interesting that your opponent could good enough to play you and then not good enough to score a single point and get mercied.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And then in addition to that, what was even funnier was the very first time GCU hits the ball in the bottom of the first inning, we get a double because we had gotten bases fully loaded before any of our team hit the ball on the bottom of the first inning because the pitcher hit the player, hit the batter at GCU so many times within the first two innings. I think they had 5 or 6 walks due to the pitcher hitting the batter, which is
that's crazy. That's crazy that they left that pitcher out there.
It was insane.
You hit your you load the bases on walks because you hit the batter.
Yeah.
I feel like you take him out and you try someone else.
It was ridiculous. I was cringing and I felt so bad for that team because this was opening game of the season. So this should be like one of your better performances because you're not tired, nobody's injured, everybody's like fresh off of the training season. You're probably starting with your starters who are supposed to be good. And this team had just come from Boston. So GCU's in Phoenix. So they're coming from Boston for the opener and just get I felt so bad for the pitcher because that guy had to have been losing his mind. I don't know.
Yeah, he either did not care whatsoever or he's like packing up his locker in tears.
And
getting sent home.
Just getting sent home and being turned into the secondary pitcher.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah. That is crazy.
Yeah. But that was all I had for the apolitical topic this week. I thought it'd be something short and fun. I like baseball. I like watching. I would never play because that's effort. But that was an insane game for an opener, and very fun watch. But with that, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. So this has been the Apolitical Podcast, and I have been your host, Caleb.
And I have been your host, James. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow our socials where we post clips and any updates about the show. Any engagement goes a long way for pushing the video to a wider audience.
Thanks for joining us, and we will see you all again for next week's episode. See ya!